Welcome to the Connected BIM webinar series for reality capture. Thank you so much for joining. We're excited to present reality capture for you today. My name is Annie Fan. I'm the marketing manager for ReCap, and joining us later is Buddy Legan, our solutions engineer. Buddy will walk us through a live demonstration of ReCap, so please stay tuned. Now, as you know, the series is called Connected BIM, but what exactly do we mean by Connected BIM? So Connected BIM is BIM with the power of the cloud. Autodesk Connected BIM uses the power of the cloud to make collaboration possible just about anytime, anywhere. You also get data continuity throughout the life cycle of your project. And lastly, Connected BIM offers deep insight to inform your decision making. So for building design, Connected BIM makes it possible to capture existing design information through scanning and point clouds. It's a solution that helps you collaborate across geo-dispersed teams. And Connected BIM simulates early and often, allowing the computer to act as a designer. You could create immersive experiences like VR and interact with the building before it's built. Essentially, we're closing the gap between real site conditions and design intent, and then transitioning design into construction with detailing and fabrication. This is part one of a three-part Connected BIM series, and today's webinar is focused on reality capture. And in the reality capture space, we've seen that while scanning hardware becomes less expensive and more portable, there are still barriers to adoption. So here at Autodesk, we aim to make reality capture more accessible. Our software, ReCap Pro, is built for simplicity so that anyone can use it. Now, we achieve this by automating complex processes, which make it easier to capture actual site conditions and start designing faster. And with that, I'll go ahead and kick off our first live polling question for the audience. So our first polling question will help us gauge how familiar you are with ReCap. All right, thank you, everyone. Here are the results. So it looks like we have a good mix. We have one more question for you guys. This next question will help us understand some of the challenges that you faced during the pre-design phase. All right, thank you, everyone. And here are the results. And so now, without further ado, I'll go ahead and hand it over to Buddy for the live demonstration.
Thank you, Annie. I appreciate that. And I was kind of disappointed I couldn't vote. It is an honor and a privilege to be demonstrating to you guys today, and so thanks for joining. What I really want to get started with is how simple and easy to use ReCap can be, and based on the polling data that Annie had provided, it looks like the majority of you have really never used it or kind of concerned that it may be a little bit too complicated to use. So I want to dispel some of those myths about it today. What you see is the interactive screen when you first open up the ReCap icon on your desktop. And what I'm going to show you how to do is how to create a new scan project. Although this is somewhat time intensive, I'm going to do just a little bit of it, and then I'm going to abandon it and go into a project that I've already created for you. So we'll hit save on the previous project, and we'll create a new one. I didn't know what to call it, so I figured I'd call it that. And here's where you can place your ReCap project in the certain folder structures of your choosing. I'll hit proceed, and here it says select the files to import. So I can either drop and drag them here. I can browse for a folder and select them and place those scans that way, or I can simply select the scans themselves. So I'll go into select the scans and go to my desktop. And I know I've got some scans in here I'm going to use. And I'm just going to pick 2 of them. And I'll hit open. And what it does here is it brings in both scans and allows me to begin the registration of these 2 scans together. I can hit auto register, or I can select a manual registration. Manual registration doesn't require me to have targets, but merely surfaces or some type of commonality between scans. the auto registration does all of those things for you automatically. So in the essence of time, I'll just hit the auto register for you. And it shouldn't take too long based on these two scans only being in here at the time. Now, once this is going to be done, it'll allow me to look at these two scans in unison on the screen and fly and walk through and see what we call a bubble view, or maybe a mirror ball view, that allows us to look at these two scans from the point of view of the actual laser scan itself. And what we've got is we've got a large scan that has been somewhat clipped, so we're going to unclip everything so that I can show you how big this scan is and what we're going to do with it today. So there's a lot of noise out here, and the ability for us to come in here and clean up the things that are not important to the scan is really easy, and ReCap gives us a few ways to do that. We can do that based on a window selection, a fence selection, or we can create planes and turn those planes on and off. So under the window selection, we simply create windows, and we're able to take those points that we've selected and we can delete them, we can redo the box that we've created, or we can do what we call a clip inside. So we'll repeat that process just a couple of times so you'll see how easy it is to do that. So we're getting all of the noise that's out here and we're filtering it out just so that we can see what's important for this particular scan. We can also come up here and use an automatic cleanup tool that's built into the program. So we select this and it'll look for inconsistencies in the scan based on decimation, if decimation has been done or not. And we'll pick something a little bit lighthearted. So we'll just go ahead and tell it, hey, just clean up a little bit of this thing. Don't do everything and don't make it so much of a heavy lifting effort here. And so this process will go on. And it's looking for, sometimes it could be smoke or something that's moved from scan to scan, maybe a bucket or a barrel or anything like that. I'm going to cancel it, but I just wanted you to understand that there's an automated system in here that's going to create all of these individual points that have been picked up in the scanner that seem to have inconsistencies from scan to scan. Now, the other portion of this is going to be me showing you how to create regions and planes. So I'll come in here a little bit and move this around for you, and we'll change from a window to a fence, and I'm going to pick this fence area, and now I've selected those and I'll hit the same clip or pick or box or distance or any of these functions that you'll see down here at the bottom. All I'm really trying to do at this point is define certain amounts of points that will be selected for hiding or removal. And the other portion of this part is the plane. So let me come in here and grab this brick wall, and this will be a really good visual for you guys. So if I pick the plane, I'm picking spots that I'm identifying that I want to hide or put on its own layer, if you will. We call them regions in ReCap. And the more points that I select, the more consistent that region will be. I can also control how deep that region should be. I'm going to maximize this a little bit, and then I'm going to double click and select that region, and I'll see that it's selected almost that entire wall, and from there I'll hit clip inside, and you'll see most of that wall kind of went away. There are a few different pieces and parts. We can continue to do this until we get where we want it to be in terms of clarity and vision. And we can also do that with things such as the floor, which I find to be almost scary at some point because it looks like you could fall through it. But I think I've already selected the floor as a region, so I'll come here to this menu. I'll find the grade. You see the grade has been highlighted when I select it. And from there, I can turn it off, and it looks like we can just go right on through. It's kind of a very neat feature, but it allows you to do lots of different things, especially cleanup in terms of design environment and sending this information to some of your downstream software such as Plant 3D or Revit or AutoCAD, for example, will even take in these scans as well, and there's a whole host of other software that does the same thing. The big picture here is we're getting cleanup, we're getting these files more efficient for that design process to take place. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you how we can take out, since we've removed the floor, I'm going to go ahead and take out the scanner and this guy who was operating the scanner at the time. So I'll simply select a window, and I'll grab him in his scanner. From there, I can delete the points, or I can clip the inside here and remove them. So now when I turn the floor back on, that area is now gone. So this allows us to kind of get into these bubble views here, which I'm fixing to show you, and take a look around and see how things are progressing. So it'll load the scan here. And there's an interactive map here that shows you which direction you're looking and where the other bubble views are located in this multi-scan. And we can change from one area to the other. So we'll select a different bubble view, and it'll pull us into that one as well. And we can repeat this process over and over again. And that's kind of what we've done in terms of a registration of scans. It allows all these different scans to handshake and make this into a continuous scanning experience, so that when we bring in our project information, or we take this information and we send it to a different software, we still have that continuity. We can also measure inside of ReCap. So we can select the distance and we can pick different points here to here. In this case, it is in the Z coordinate, 1.5 meters. We can change our measuring criteria. So we'll hit done. We'll come up here to settings. And if we didn't want to see it in meters, we can change it to feet and inches, with a precision down to a 64th, which is, it's a bit much, but we'll just leave it at an 1/8 for now. And you'll see that the dimension line that I just created has been modified so that you'll see this new dimension in feet and inches. So from here, I can select on it and I can delete that dimension. We can also pan around and look around and zoom in and zoom out. You can see that this target here has been placed. There's a variety of targets in this scan, but you don't necessarily need targets anymore as much as you need common surfaces or common points of interest. You can also create notes, which I will get out of this bubble view and show you some of these other notes that we have in here in this particular scan. So here's one here, and we'll move around a little bit and you'll see a few more over here. Here's one right here called a field weld, and if I select on it, you'll see that the field weld has a numbering, it has a size, it has a specification, type of weld, and even has a picture image embedded into it that you can upload for each one of these notes, maybe giving either your contractor or your customer an idea of what type of activity is going to take place at this particular location. The other really cool feature about ReCap and how it interacts with that BIM workflow is how you can use this with projects that you're currently working on. So if I select attach projects, I can select a Navisworks NWD of the current project that I may be wanting to reference. Once I select that, I can pull in that project, but I can only see it through a bubble view. So if I look in this area right now, let me pan over a little bit here. If I look into this area, I don't see any project work going on. But if I select this bubble view, I'll let it reload the graphics here. And then I turn around and look, I begin to see all of the new project information that was not available to me previously. So looking at how this is going to be laid out, looking at that new note here, field weld, it has a new meaning now. than before when it just seemed to look like a point in space. So now you see where there's a line connection, there's a new stripping column here and some new pumps, tanks, and some sorted piping. That's what really gives the benefit to that BIM workflow structure that we've been talking about in the previous moments of this meeting. Looking at how reality capture captures existing conditions, how we pull that information and we combine it in a unique experience with project data, and we see how that interface works. And we can also pull all of this information into our other products like Navisworks, where we can clash and look at different disciplines interfacing in the same environment. Time check, we have about 7 minutes left. I'm going to get back out of the bubble view and get back into this larger view. I'll pull this out, and so you'll see that I didn't finish doing all the cleanup that we needed to do. It's really simple. Go back to Windows and you can finish up cleaning your scans up, and we will get this down just a little bit tighter and make our scans really close to just seeing the things that are important to us in this particular project. And so now we're looking at it where we're only seeing just a little bit of the parts and pieces left. And you can also manage your scans here through this menu. You can turn them on and turn them off. You can manage your annotations in your notes, which is the field welds and all the different images that we've clipped to it. And you can also obviously maintain and manage your different regions, like the floor and the table that we selected and turned on. We'll turn that table back off again and come back in here and see this table has been removed. So that's the cleanup, that's the functionality, that is the interfacing between a scan and a project environment. And I will wrap this up by saying thanks for watching, and Annie, I'll give it back to you.
Great, thank you, Buddy. I think we have a couple of minutes here to do Q&A. So if you can go ahead and type in your questions in the question box. We'll answer them live now.
There's a couple questions in here. There's one that says, how long does a complete scan like this one take? Yeah, so it really depends on the accuracy and how many scans you take and on the hardware itself. But the particular one that Buddy was working with there was probably about 20 scans, and each of those scans takes anywhere from 3 to 8 minutes, depending on the scanner hardware. There's another one on the cost for the scanning equipment. So again, that one is dependent on kind of the accuracy and the range that you're looking for. But scanners vary anywhere from $16,000 up to scanners into the 6 figures. So the range can go from 60 meters, basically 120 feet, up to a few thousand feet. So it really depends on the application.
And that's getting less and less expensive as the market gets a little bit more crowded with developers and providers.
Very much so, yeah. There's a couple questions on computer hardware requirements. Those are on the ReCap product site. So if you go to Autodesk.com and search for ReCap, there's a whole list of basically processor requirements, video card requirements. Question here about making a surface, I'm assuming like a topographic map from point clouds. Yeah, there's definitely, using the entire portfolio of Autodesk products, you're able to take a point cloud, in this case going into something like InfraWorks or Civil 3D, and create a surface map from your point cloud data to extract any kind of topo lines.
I placed the ReCap computer requirements link into the chat box.
Excellent. How long does it take to typically register the scans?
I would say, based on the 20 scans that I had put into this project, I'd give it about 2 hours to do that full scan. It may take, it depends on your, obviously the horsepower of your computer and the complexity and intricacy of your scans, but in this particular case, I think 2 hours would have been sufficient.
Great, thank you guys. Thank you everyone for your questions. Before we end the webinar, I do want to call out attention to a few resources for you. We do offer a free 30-day trial, so please check that out. We also have our Connected BIM webinar series, so We'd love for you guys to sign up for that, especially if you're more interested in learning about Revit and deepening your design visualization.
This will conclude the webinar. Thank you everyone for joining. Have a good day.